Oh, what is up, everybody? It is week 9 of the Texas high school football season. We are broadcasting to you from our abodes. We are not in the studio this week. The equipment has been ransacked by hoodlums and ragtag kids in Denton. So we are now at home for this week. Now John has it, and so we are stuck in our own homes this week. What's up, Lee?
What's up, Steven? How you doing, man?
Man, my back hurts. I love having a compressed back, so it's wonderful to sit down here and try to get comfortable. It's been a busy week, man. A lot of playoff uh, stuff to get through. We posted a lot of articles this week on the website about who would play who if the playoffs started. What are the paths for some of the teams that are not in the playoff positions, and what's at stake this week? So, if you want to check all that out, be sure to check it out at dencogridiron.com. That is your home for everything Denko Gridiron football, your town, your team, like it says right here over my shoulder. What's been up with you this week?
Went down to Austin again, this time
Mm-hmm.
for work stuff. So I was at a
Sicko,
little,
man. You're a
yeah,
sicko.
little event related thing we had going on. So I was kind of bouncing around with John, doing some video work, interviewing stuff, setting cameras up, setting audio things up, just recording a bunch of different things, and then staying up a little bit late, having to try to get all that stuff kind of organized, and so hopefully, none of it got corrupted. And I'm just it's just one of those things where you hope everything kind of came out the way you wanted it to, and
Yeah.
'cause it's all running gun. And so I mean, it felt like a long, long weekend, and
Yeah, for sure.
well, it was just a long 48 hours, and got a lot out of it. But I'm back. I got to sleep in my own bed last night.
Oh, there you go, and
So
you probably go to bed early tonight if you're that type of person to rest up for the games that are this week, man.
yeah, oh, definitely. I'm not trying. I don't want to stay up late tonight, but I probably will. So
Yeah, because you're again a sicko. You and your degenerate scoring and staying up until the crack of dawn and everything. All right, man. So again, if you're watching, we appreciate you watching us live. If you're watching on replay, we appreciate that. If you want to interact with the show, comment in the comment box. Tell us where you're watching from, what team you're rooting for this week, what team you want to lose this week. We don't care. We want it all. Bring it all. Right. You can always check out our social channels. That's on X, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Threads, etc. At Denko Gridiron, like Lee just put on the screen. And if you want to get into some nitty gritty details or want to partner with us or whatever the case might be, you can always email us at info@dencogridiron.com. Man, Lee, you've gotten this whole pressing buttons down pat, right? As soon as I say it, it's on the screen. I love it, man. You're on
oh,
top
I
of your
know I
stuff.
got really good at pushing buttons. Thank God.
Your inner child is coming out. That's what we all love to do is press buttons. All right, man. Hit the sounder, Expo.
Yes, sir. It's time for. Love that lady.
That's how I felt watching that game, just because it was an S show of a game, but I was really over that woman, like, in half a second. I don't know why. It felt like a plant, and they kept going back to her, and it felt really annoying. It was almost like Taylor Swift. I got really tired of it really quick.
Oh my God, I was loving that lady so much more than Taylor Swift, and I was enjoying the Taylor Swift stuff. But oh my God, she. It just felt like a genuine fan. It's like
I
that's how
see.
I am
I
when I
I
watch.
disagree.
I'm like that when I watch a game.
I
I'm
100% disagree.
I
I
am
she no,
yes.
there is no way somebody is that much of a Chargers fan. Just not possible. Not possible.
They found her on social media, and man,
Oh, I know, I know, I
she
know,
is
I know the
she is
backstory now and everything, but
absolutely.
I was still very much over it. Just again, it was a bad game, and I didn't like how things were trending, and so I was like, all right, let's get this woman off
Oh, I know you
the
didn't. That's
screen.
why I was like, I absolutely have to use that for our little news and notes image. And it's like I've felt everything that woman is going through. I only got to see like the very end of the game because we got home,
Yeah.
we got back to the little condo we were staying in kind of late, and
Ooh,
it's like this
fun.
lady. Oh yeah, well, I mean, all the hotels and but these like they show this lady a bunch of times. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, is this like a celebrity? And I have no idea what's going on. It's like my Twitter feed is just blown up with her.
Mhm.
Come to realize it's just some random fan. But I was like, man, I was just having a ball of a time just watching this lady just go through every
Disagree.
emotion possible at the very end
Disagree.
of the
I
game.
just disagree.
Hilarious.
Get off my screen. You do not add anything to my experience watching, so get off the screen.
That's what I was going through during the OU Texas game, man.
No, I hear you, and I think I told you for the first time, maybe I didn't. I was telling somebody else, like, for the first time in a very long time since being in sports journalism, I was pissed off after a game. Like, I was just really, really mad, and I think I took it out a little bit on my family, like, passive aggressively, and felt bad about it. But I knew that, like, that entire day I was just pissed off, and that's why I didn't respond to your text and all this stuff. I was just like, no, I'm not doing
Oh,
it.
dude, that was the best day of my life, possibly. I saw the Foo Fighters. I was like 8 rows back. Dave Grohl's like 30 feet from me. Whenever he like went, I was just like, this is the best day of my life. Like I could die tomorrow. I'm good.
That's crazy.
Like,
All right,
you know.
news
All
and
right,
notes.
actually, on to the
Let's get into the
actual
news and
show.
notes. So, since our last preview show, which was week 7, we had 2 new teams in the area enter into the DCTF AP state polls. That would be Argyle and Liberty Christian. Argyle, after winning its 3rd straight, they moved up into 10th, and Liberty Christian then moved up to the 5th. Well, after last week 8, both teams moved up, as well as Byron Nelson and Lone Star staying in the rankings. So we have 4 in the area, which I think is what we started off with to begin the year. We had Louisville, Byron Nelson, Geyer, Argyle, Lone Star. So 5. Those 5 were ranked to begin the year. So we got 4 right now. So cool that we're getting a little bit more credence in the area from DCTF and the AP state polls. Surprised it took that long for Liberty Christian to get ranked. I figured after
Yeah, that was a bit weird.
blowing the door, I mean, they only have 5 when it comes to their 11-man rankings, which kind of goes to show just how much they have access or interest in private schools. But still, I figured maybe after your 4th, 5th blowout win, especially after blowing out Legacy, you would have moved up into it much quicker. But who knows what how they determine that down there in the off of 121. They're actually local to us. All right, and we've got some award winners. You want to run through these real quick?
Yeah, let's go ahead and run through these guys real fast here. Oh, sorry, my show notes I was at the bottom of the page here, guys. First off, we got Caden Collins from Prestonwood, and then Isaac Harney from Geyer High School, quarterback, this last week. McGuire, is it McGuire Gasperson from Argyle, the quarterback, a big game here against Emerson. And then Jacoby Gladney, not Jacoby, as our lovely PA announcer.
Or Jacoby.
Or Jacoby, as
Man,
however that PA announcer loved calling him.
So he did it.
Anything but Jacoby.
He said it one time correctly when we came back in from the second half. He actually said Jacoby, and then every other time it was Jacoby or Jacoby.
Oh my goodness,
dude! Like you
I had to
hear
catch myself
yourself,
for a second
right?
because it's like I saw Jacoby Gladney. It's like that PA announcer has like rotted my brain, and I want to say like Jacoby now. And it's like no, it's Jacoby because that's how everyone on planet Earth probably pronounces that name.
Yeah, there's no K, there's no E or anything like that. It's weird. And it's just weird. Real quick before we move to defense, interesting note about McGuire over at Argyle. That was his first start as a quarterback, as a varsity quarterback. I think he's a sophomore, but really good. Yeah.
Tip of the cap there, man. Big in a massive game too. You know, that was basically the district title game. I think
essentially.
All intents and purposes.
I mean, he didn't have a lot of touchdown throws. He had the one, and that was in the last 21 seconds of the game to win the game. So he played error-free football, over 300 yards passing. I don't know how you only have one touchdown with 300 yards passing, but that's how it worked. But he had the touchdown that mattered, right?
Yeah, and that kind of reminds me of a guy that we've talked about a lot on this show, Colin Blackstock over at Lone Star. So
yeah, he's kind of come along recently too. So a lot of upswells in terms of play for some of the players that we cover in our area.
Yeah, definitely. All right, now onto the defensive side of things, we have Jacob Kaufman from Denton High, Mason McDonald from Flower Mound, Jake Schellschmidt from Frisco Legacy, one of our TAP schools, and then Donovan Webb from Panther Creek, yet again making an appearance making a lot of plays over there at Panther Creek.
Yep, 16 tackles, 1 interception. They needed every bit of that as a barely edged past Pinkston. So they are open this week. So hopefully they get rested up. They have 2 more games left on the calendar after this week, and the big one against Salina on the season finale will be huge.
Yeah, the big thing is going to be, not overlooking whatever. I don't remember who they play the second, in their penultimate game, but
I
you guys
think
take care
it's
of
North
business.
Dallas. No, Ranch View, I think is who they play.
Yeah, I don't think it's obviously one of those really great programs or anything, but can't overlook that game. Got to take care of business there, and then you
Yep.
go to Salina. I mean, and that's the week you gotta you got to bring it, and that'll be a fun game to check out, and hopefully,
Yeah, for sure.
something like
I
that.
actually do think we're going to see that game as Panther Creek and Salina. So
I think right now, yeah, that's we got it all planned out to come check that one out. So
yeah, I mean that'll be the third time we'd seen Panther Creek, but because it would be they're playing Ranch View, and I know there's a former coach from Denton, Byron Nelson, who follows us or followed us before moving over to coach at Ranch View. But I feel like Panther Creek's going to roll right through them with or without Trickett. I don't know if he was injured last week, but that's going to look like it could be a blowout either way, and it could be a very close game. I'm all here for it, whatever happens against Salina in that season finale. And there's a lot of different games that could potentially come down to or district titles could come down to that season
last
finale.
week.
Yeah,
that last week could be our last week here, just in the Denton County area. We might have a lot of what could just in general there's just not enough hands on deck for the amount of ridiculousness that could be going on that final week. We might have 3-way tiebreakers, all these
Oh
different
man.
things going. Like the amount of playoff berths that are going to be kind of that could be at stake that final week. It feels like it's going to be absolute madness.
Oh yeah, 100%.
We're headed for that. So
yeah, and what even to add another layer on to that is there is no one way how these district 3-way ties are decided. It could be a coin toss. It could be on points. It could be whatever. I mean, like we were joking about it when it was Denton and Creekview, because the possibility had Creekview won was a 4-way tie or 4 teams with 1 district win, being Denton, Creekview, Independence, and Memorial. So we were talking about like card games and whatever, just throwing all sorts of random ideas out there.
Anything other than a football game.
Yeah, anything other, like, I don't know, playing skip-bo or kicking field goal.
Madden.
Oh, that would still be football, but like playing ice hockey or some stupid crap like that to decide the who goes to the playoffs and who's out.
Like, choose your best Madden player.
Yeah.
Choose your champion.
But that goes back to my sticking point with the UIL sometimes, and even TAPS. Like, let's have a uniform way of deciding who gets in and gets out, as opposed to letting the district executive committees figure it out. Because I don't know if you remember a few years ago when Ryan was like supremely good, and I think we got into COVID, and the district executive committee did not want to grant Ryan a win because a team, I think, had too many COVID players or something. Do you remember this?
I think I might.
Yeah, so it was the same year that Ryan and Lone Star were in the same district. So it was like 2 years ago, I think. And they didn't want to award Ryan a win, and then it went to appeal, and they finally reneged. But like Ryan and Hennigan and them, they took that so personally, and they were just ready to just kill everything in front of them that had Frisco on their chest. So yeah, it's all dumb. Don't leave it to adults of teams that they either support or coach. How about you do like just a independent third party, say, here's how we do it. You're going to do points, and we'll figure it out from there. So that's my hot take of the week.
I don't even think it's a hot take, to be honest.
Okay, well, fair enough. It's a take of the week. Maybe it's a cold take. All right, so we got 2 teams on bye or open this week. I've started defaulting to open because it's not technically a bye. They're not advancing to anything. That was Panther Creek, who we just mentioned, and Creekview. Both of those schools are out. We'll talk a little bit more about their situations here in a little bit, and that's what we're going to do with this show today. I don't know if you remember on Saturday we ran through all the haps for what just kind of went down and where things stand, and it was a lot. Going to kind of touch on it a little bit lighter this week when it comes to our breakdown of just what teams need to what basically is at stake for each team moving for this week only, not the paths or anything like that. So we'll get into that this little bit, and then last little there's two little tidbits. One was a tweet from Matt Stepp from DCTF this morning, and we were talking about it before the show. That is Lake Dallas possibly dropping down to 4A in the next realignment cycle. I know we're getting snapshots here soon. If not, maybe it was yesterday we got it. I thought it was supposed to be the 27th, but maybe it's the 17th. But we're gonna start hearing whispers and ideas about what districts are going to look like moving forward. Of course, we'll get the official stuff in February when the UIL announces all that stuff. But yeah, for Lake Dallas moving back down to 4A or to the, I guess you would call it the middle class, whatever you want to call it. I don't know how it would be not two from the top and two from the bottom, so middle. Well, no, three. I don't know, top, whatever. I'm just stumbling all over this, but yeah, I think that's interesting. What do you think about Lake Dallas potentially moving down to 4A when you have a 6A Guyer literally right down the street?
I think it's pretty interesting right now. I think Lake Dallas is a good program, and just I think being in that 4A Division 2 or Division 1 level will give them a little bit better chance to maybe make a deeper run in the playoffs. Obviously, there's some really good programs at that
Mm-hmm.
level. You think of like Salina, Anna, and those things, but Anna is growing out there from what I recall. So wouldn't be shocked to see them kind of here some point soon, bump back up. I'm also used to just like Dallas from when I was in high school, uh, 7-ish years ago, being 4A, being bumped up and down all the time. It is weird that Lake Dallas is one of those schools that's never consistently um, in a classification, just because of
Mm-hmm.
where they are in Corinth, which is right by Denton, right by these other 6A and 5A schools that are, Denton ISD has this very clear plan of these are our 5A schools, these are our 6A schools. If we need to bump them up, we can bump them up. Like they have this like a clear idea of what they want to do, and then Lake Dallas is kind of like uh, it still feels like a little bit like a small town school in some ways,
Mm-hmm.
uh, which is kind of interesting because it is like I said it is in Denton. Like it feels like a Denton school. It feels like everyone in Corinth is a part of the Denton community to me, because they are. I don't know how else to
Yeah.
kind of put it. Like Corinth is Denton to me in a lot of ways. A lot of there's obviously downtown Denton, but a lot of when you have you're 10 minutes away from that, it's like how are you not part of Denton, right?
Yeah. I mean, and it's funny because you're talking about them being a small town school, yeah, right in the middle of essentially a major metropolitan area. But if you go 10
Yeah,
minutes, west, then you hit Crum, right? And you're
yeah,
definitely out in the sticks,
yeah.
right?
That and see, but that is
That's a legit small
that
school.
is yeah, and it is about but that's a more 20-ish minutes outside of like
Sure. But
North Denton. So that is a little bit further. They are a little bit further outside of Denton. But like Corinth, like I mean, Lake Dallas is a stone's throw from Guyer. I mean, it's a 5-minute
oh
bus
yeah.
ride. If you want to get from like if you want to get from CH Collins to Crum, because that's about as far north as it gets from the Denton area. I mean, that's still a 20-minute drive.
Sure.
But like, I mean, Lake Dallas is right there in the heart of
Oh
everything
yeah.
around here, which is that's what makes it even weirder to me than like Crum or any of these other areas.
Oh yeah. 100%. It's just it's so it's funny just how this all is going to shake out,
Yeah,
how the
that's what
schools
you.
are going to line and everything like that. So I'm
Mhm.
I'll be interested to see what the projections of each um, district will look like because Step and that
Oh yeah.
team they do a good job of keeping the ear to the pulse of that, and of course there's a lot of glad handing from coaches or ads with the UIL to say, hey, we want to play here, we want to do this, we want to go against these schools or whatever, and they try to accommodate as much as possible. But then you get the random Shermans who have to come play the Frisco schools, or Tyler have to come, or Tyler Legacy have to come play the Mesquite schools. The talk is Midway coming up to play, excuse me, the South Dallas schools. So it's always going to happen, just how it is, unfortunately. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the projections look like, and then what the actual drop is. I wish I was more in tune with that, but I'm not. That's not my area of expertise yet.
Yeah,
And
I
then
think
go
the
ahead.
one thing I was going to point out is that we did have one nugget. I think it was Tep that Greg Tepper dropped it right before the season started, because this is the second major realignment thing that I've heard. Was the first one was actually DeSoto was probably going to be dropping back down to like was going to be dropping to 5A.
Wow, really? I didn't see anything about
I
this.
did now that was the one that's the one that's the most shocking to me, and I could have swore this was back in so you'll have to double check me on that, but this was back in August. I had heard that because they've had some issues with they no longer have the open enrollment. They no longer have the and then they don't have quite because of they lost some transfers and they've just had the enrollment's not where it was a few years
Interesting.
ago. So and so this is
Interesting.
two
Yeah, because
school.
I'm
This is two. So obviously that's a major powerhouse in football
yeah.
with DeSoto, but this is another good. This is a good program in like Dallas. So that's two very good programs that we're talking about dropping down a classification,
Sure, yeah,
right?
no, it's just shocking
So
because I'm looking at their enrollment numbers for the preview magazine. It's at 2,700, so that's quite a drop. If they're going down, that's like 800 students if they're dropping down to 5A D1. I think
yeah,
that's the cutoff is 1,900, and that was this
mhm.
past alignment cycle. Now it could be higher, it could be like 2,100 now because of everybody growing in the state, but still, it's a shocker.
Yeah. So let's see.
I believe you, man. That's just maybe maybe it is 2,100 now is the cutoff. Okay, well, or 2,200. I gotta look back at those number cutoffs.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
changes.
so that's something we'll try to keep in tune with that because obviously like I think just in general any of these North Texas schools moving up down whatever all around right is it's just important for our schools because all of a sudden like someone's playing in a district with this big old powerhouse like DeSoto or playing like a guy are getting bumped up to 6A turned into a real big deal because all of a sudden now they're lockstep playing Allen every freaking year. Like
Yep.
so, these realignments, it's important to pay attention not only to your school but to all the other schools around you because it's you might end up in a district where everyone you play is a whole lot better than the district you were in previous year, or you might be in a district where oh wow, like we have a really good chance to go make the playoffs and do some damage now.
Hmm.
So
Absolutely. All right. Yeah, it's interesting. Another little interesting note is while we were out last week, you were home, but I was traveling for work and
mhm.
everything like that. Um, we had TAPS realignment that just randomly dropped on a Tuesday. No, I don't. There was no announcement that I saw or was aware of, but they dropped their 2024 through 26 realignment, and uh, all three of our four schools will be in one district. Prestonwood is going to stay in Division One, District One, and joining them will be Liberty Christian and Legacy Christian, both going from Division Two, District One to Division One, District One. Quite the leap, I think. I don't know if the the districts matter that much, but still going from one division to the next is pretty substantial, at least in my mind, to Legacy, because I feel like they're a very small private school, but maybe they're not. And then the other shift is Coram Deo is staying in Division Two, but moving from District Two to District One. So three of our schools and area schools will be in one district, so that'll be fun to watch. Both team or all four teams will be in respective 7-team districts, so that'll be fun to see next year when that all
Mhm.
shakes out and what the schedules will look like for each one of those schools. All right. So now we're getting into the thick of our show. Really, this week it's going to be the breakdown of where things are at and what's possible for each team this week. All right. All right. So before we get into the breakdown, so here's where things stand for two of our teams. We know two have actually clinched, and that is Panther Creek and Aubrey. They have both clinched a playoff spot. So congratulations. Jazz snaps for them. They are in the playoffs as two of the 18 that are slotted in a playoff spot right now have actually clinched. That gets into 13 teams can clinch this week, and that could be done outright for some, and for others they need help, meaning other teams have to lose and they win as well. So we'll start with 6A. Lee, I'll let you do 5A, and then we'll kind of just back and forth off of that. So 6A,
Sounds good.
which is a game we'll be at tomorrow night, is Nelson versus Keller Central. Nelson is in with a win over Keller Central or an Eaton loss. Whichever one shakes out will put Nelson into the playoffs. We still have no clue what seed Nelson will be after this week. It's very possible that, well, not very possible. It is 99% likely that the game between Nelson and Carroll will decide who is Division II seed 1, Division II seed 2. So that'll be a fun matchup again, like it was last year. So from moving from 4-6A to 5-6A, we have Geyer. They are in with a win and losses by Braswell and Rock Hill. So that's possible. They have a tough test against Allen this week, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But very, very doable on all three fronts. Louisville over to 6-6A is in with a win over Marcus and losses by Hebron and Plano East, and the same goes for Marcus. If they beat Louisville and there's losses by Hebron and Plano East, they are in. So that is what is possible for clinching this week for 6-6 or for 6A.
On to our 5A schools. It's going to be Northwest is in with a win or a Brewer loss. Lone Star is in with a win over Sherman or a Wakeland loss. Reedy is in with a win over Frisco or a Wakeland loss. Now, as we've talked about with Frisco, Frisco is kind of that dark horse a little bit in that district. They played really well throughout the season. I believe they have 2 losses now on the record with Frisco.
No,
If I'm not
Frisco's
mistaken,
undefeated.
no, Frisco. If Frisco is undefeated, okay, they did pull out. I thought for some reason I thought they had
No, they won by 3 in
lost
overtime to
there's the
Heritage.
overtime win, and then okay, I thought they had lost these the 2. For some reason, I was getting it crossed up, thinking that they
Oh,
had
you're all
lost
good,
these
man.
2 close games. Yeah, so that's a good game. Frisco, really good team.
Sorry, one
Reedy's
loss.
gonna
You're
have.
right. They
It is
lost.
okay. They did have the one. All right, so they had the one loss, and then for some reason, I was thinking they had the overtime game that they did lose for some reason.
It was
Uh,
Centennial. Sorry.
yeah, so Frisco not going to be a cakewalk by any means for Reedy. Uh, so
They
that's a
are
game I
favored
would keep my.
pretty heavily by 13.5, but we've seen that,
I'm not
not play
shocked
out.
that they're favored heavily. I think Reedy is going to win that game.
Sure.
I think Reedy has been cooking. I think they are playing great football right now. I think it's Turston. Is it Turston or Tristan?
Tristan Airy.
Tristan Airy. I just want to make sure I got the first name right. Tristan Airy is that dude is playing unbelievable.
Yep.
The way he's running the football. We saw him play in person twice now. That guy is just incredible. Khalil Smith is an absolute beast. Great culture guy for that team, and you can see the way guys just pick up around him. They're never going to quit if they're in a football game. Doesn't matter how many points they're down or up by, they're just going to keep playing. So
Mm-hmm.
I love that Reedy football team, but I think Frisco is a physical team, and they're going to come out and they want to win just as bad as Reedy does. So
Yeah,
it's
for
not. This
sure.
is not. Yeah. So I think that's the big thing. This is why that game. I think it's just important to kind of highlight that game a little bit. And now they're also in with a Wakeland loss. So
Yep.
even if Reedy doesn't win that game, they'll be in. Argyle is in with a win over Independence. I think Argyle will take care of business that game. And then Denton is in with a win over Memorial or an Independence loss.
And an Independence loss. Like it's not
Oh,
or.
and an Independence loss. Oh,
Yeah.
my bad. That's
No, you're
apologies
good.
there, folks.
You're good. No, there's the if the ands and ors things are very crucial at this point right now because it's it becomes nut cutting time and if you lose and some other team wins and they take your place and you have to wait for that potential game. So if Denton's able to get that 2-game lead with 2 games left over Independence, that's where the and comes in. Is they have to have both for them to get in. Now if they win and Independence wins, which is very unlikely against Argyle based off of what we've seen the last 4 weeks, then it's all deal. All bets are off at that point.
Mhm.
All right, I'll finish up the last two for classifications for who's in, who can clinch this week. 3A Ponder is in with a win over Peaster or a pilot point loss. Honestly, after last year, I did not think we would be saying Ponder would be in the playoffs with a new coach on a short timeline schedule and a disastrous defense from last year. There's just no way. But Marcus Scholes has, completely turned around what was going on last year. They have very much a winning mentality. They have a winning record in both district and overall. So going against I think a winless Peaster team, I know they're winless in district, is all signs point to a clinch for Ponder. So kudos to them because I didn't see it either earlier this year when we watched them against Crum for the 5 minutes that we saw them, or coming off from last year. Taps, we go to there. Prestonwood, they can clinch in its district with a win over Bishop Lynch. Liberty will get in with a win over Southwest Christian or a Midland Christian loss. And then Legacy is in with a win and a Coram Deo loss. So that's the 13 schools that can get in this week if all things, well, it's not possible for all 13, but that's what's possible for the 13. Nelson Geyer, Louisville, Marcus, Northwest, Lone Star, Reedy, Argyle, Denton, Ponder, Prestonwood, Liberty, and Legacy can all get in with wins and breaks their way this week. Now we go to the 8. There's 8 teams that can be eliminated with either losses or wins from other teams. Do you want to start off 6A?
Yeah, I'll get us started off with 6A. Not surprisingly, I think Braswell can be eliminated with a loss and wins by Geyer and McKinney. I think that's just not surprising because I think you kind of touched on that already a little bit. And then Little Elm can be eliminated with a loss or a Geyer and McKinney win, or Geyer and McKinney wins. And then Flower Mound can be eliminated with a loss to Plano and wins by Hebron and Plano East.
Yep. There's the Flower Mountain's in a situation. Both Flower Mountain and Little Elm are in situations where they have to win out to get in. Braswell, there is some trickery that is involved if they win and Geyer and McKinney lose, and there's a possibility for Rock Hill to throw in a wrench into getting a 3-way tie, which would then talk about bringing up those tiebreakers that we've talked about with UIL and everything like that. There's a possibility. But man, Braswell really needed that win last week against Geyer, and it's just they're still not at that tier yet in this district. That's what we've learned over the last 4 years for Braswell when they moved up to 6A. They're just still that rung below the heavy hitters. All right, so 5A, I'll take over on this one. We have the Colony. If they lose to Azle, they will be eliminated. They're another one of those teams that has a lot going over in terms of possibilities. They can beat a 3-way tie. They can leapfrog based off of what happens with Brewer and Centennial. There's a lot to get through there, but if they lose, they're done pretty much. And it sucks for them because we talked about this last week, I think, or maybe it was off the air. I can't remember. They have all their games up until week 11, and they have. There we go. We have 2. They have 1 less game on the schedule remaining than the others ahead of them. So kind of they have to win out and hope for some sort of miracle. And then Creekview, they are eliminated with a Denton win. It's amazing how we were close to saying that Creekview and Denton and Memorial and Independence were all going to be there with one win, and now we're looking at Creekview being on a bye week and have no control over their destiny right now. So they need Denton to lose to even have a sniff at the playoffs. I'll do 4A as well, since I see you highlighted 3A and TAPS. Sanger, who we'll talk about here in a little bit, if they lose to Aubrey and Crum beats Farmersville, they are mathematically eliminated from playoff contention. So there's a lot on the line there for those schools, and I'll let you handle 3A and TAPS.
Yeah, so Pilot Point, if they lose or Ponder wins, will be eliminated. That'll put an end to their season. Pilot Point obviously coming in with a new head coach and just a lot stacked against them coming into this season. Would like to see them kind of go out and get a win, but I think it's just a lot to ask of them at this point in the year in what's been a tough season. Very uphill battle just coming into the year for them. And I think Ponder, Ponder can kind of, I think Ponder's going to take care of business here the rest of the way, just with how they've been playing. And then Coram Deo on the TAP side of things, with a loss to Grapevine Faith, that would eliminate them and in their season.
Yep.
Now,
and to that point, Coram Deo, there is an avenue, and it's on our website. It's Pat's for the playoff team, or the teams who are not currently in the playoffs. It's on DenkoGridiron.com. But they're one of those situations where they could win or lose and then win out and still get into the playoffs, or there'd be a three-way tie. There's a lot of scenarios that play there, but effectively they will be out. Well, not effectively, they will be out if they lose to Grapevine Faith on Friday. All right, so that leaves 5 teams who won't have their destinies determined this week. Crum is one of them. They can lose but still get in with wins in the last 2 weeks, or they can win and lose out and miss the playoffs, and it's just a whole, you don't know right now with Crum. Denton Ryan is in the same situation. They cannot get in or be eliminated, so they're just kind of sitting there. Same thing with Wakeland and Lake Dallas. It's weird, though, to say a Lake Dallas team can lose or win or whatever and not have anything affect them, and then you have the team below them, technically in the standings, even though they're tied, Denton, who could get in, and Independence loses. It's weird that's how that shakes out, but that's just based off the schedule and everything like that moving forward. So. And then Hebron is another school that is just kind of floating in the ether this week and seeing what happens in terms of getting in or being on the outside looking in, or nothing changing at all. So, so those are the 28 schools. Really quick blow through in terms of who can get in this week, who can be eliminated this week, and who will not have anything impact them with whatever result happens. Again, all that information, we published it onto the website at DenkoGridiron.com, or not at DenkoGridiron.com. It's all there. Obviously, you can follow us at DenkoGridiron on all our socials. You can follow Lee at Lee Livingston 13 and me at I Am Speeders. There we go. And then right now, we're going to take a quick breath to let John talk to you for a second.
Everything's bigger in Texas, especially Texas high school football. We're entering our 7th season with the Denko Gridiron platform. We started this 7 years ago, right across the street at West Oak Coffee Bar. Just an idea to bring content directly wherever you are. Be a part of the community. Join us. Help our contributors to tell the stories each and every Friday night throughout the season. Talking your town, your team.
Thanks, John. All right. Appreciate John's message. Again, if you want to partner with us, you can always email us at info@denkogridiron.com as well. Or you want to contribute to the show, to the platform, email me at Steven at denkogridiron.com, or email info@denkogridiron.com. We are accessible, right? That's the word the kids are using these days, accessibility.
I think this has been a word.
I just wanted to see your reaction to me saying something stupidly outlandish. You've never heard of accessibility?
Are you saying accessible like
No, it's yes, it's
ACCESSIBLE?
you are accessible, but you have accessibility. I'll
I've
throw it in the chat for you, the private chat, so you know what accessibility means. All right.
I've never heard someone say accessibility. Like it's like you're turning accessible in like a weird,
That's basically the
like
English
is
language. All right. So let's let's move on. All right. So we
like
got
I'm
top
hearing.
3 games for each of us. I'm going to let you go off first and list your 3,
Yeah,
and we can
so
talk about them real quick.
first on you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and kind of change the order on these a little bit since you brought up Lake Dallas or actually you brought up Hebron kind of there at the end. So I'm gonna go ahead and talk about Hebron a little bit. Coppell at Hebron. I want to know where we're at with Hebron. They've just kind of been up and down a little bit here lately. After that loss to Flower Mound a week ago, they were playing some good football, but then they had the loss, or they had the 34-13 win over Plano. The week before, they lost to Plano East 30, or they won. They beat Plano East 38-28. But then they started off district play with that loss to Marcus. So maybe they
Yeah,
just
it's
don't
been a
like playing.
yo-yo.
It's just like maybe they don't like Flower Mound schools. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know where we're at with Hebron because it's like they started the year off so hot, then they came into district, didn't play great, and then they felt like maybe they had figured things out. Then it was like, okay, maybe they didn't. I just want to know where we're at with Hebron, and and I do feel like with all of the teams that we mentioned in they're floating in the ether. It's like you still got to go out and win football games, man. They just like, we've talked about it before. We've said it many times. I'll say it again. You just don't want to be the team that like has to rely on all these other teams to do stuff for you. And I think we're seeing that come to fruition with all of our teams that are kind of mathematically possibly going to be eliminated, relying on these things, especially like the Colony. It's like win one of these other games, and you're not going to be spending your last week of the season
Yep.
crossing your fingers hoping someone else loses, right? Like that's
Sure.
uh so that's where I think Hebron, I want to see them come out and try to take care of business. I don't think they're going to beat Coppell. I think that's a tough task. Coppell is playing so good right now,
Correct. Yeah.
and I just want to see Hebron play well this week, and then that way they can take a little bit of momentum towards the back half or the last couple of weeks of the season, and go get some wins and get into the playoffs a little bit. And then the next game on this list for me is going to be Lake Dallas at Emerson. Uh, Lake Dallas, there's a mathematical way that you even talked about it in your article. They could end up fifth. I doubt that'll happen, but it's like, hey, just take care of business. I think beating Emerson is a tall task for Lake Dallas, and I think Emerson, you mentioned it when we were talking before the show. They're going to come out. They're going to be mad about what happened last week and how they lost. But Lake Dallas, I think they're upset too about losing to Argyle. Like I want to see Lake Dallas come out and just play good football. I think a lot of this for me is wanting to see some of these teams that are playoff caliber teams or teams that I think are going to end up being in the playoffs play well against other good opponents that they're going to have to play, in the postseason. Like, if Lake Dallas comes out and gets blown out again by another team, like Emerson, who's a similar caliber team to Argyle, it's like, all right, like, are you a 1-round, 2-round team at best? Like, what is like? I think they
Mhm.
have the talent to be a little bit more than that, to be honest. But they got to come out and play tight with Emerson at the very least. You can't just get blown off the field. Show me you belong on the field with those guys. So that's why that game's highlighted for me. I want to see Lake Dallas come out and go toe to toe with the Emerson out there. And
Yeah.
then the last game. Oh,
I was
sorry.
going to
Yeah.
say real quick. I mean, the benefit for Lake Dallas is that they're coming off an open week, so maybe they rested up.
Mhm.
Maybe they scouted heavily in that game against Emerson and Argyle, and kind of saw what worked for Argyle and what didn't, and go from there.
Yeah, and I do think the Falcons, I think they have the talent to do it. I think they absolutely do. It's just a matter of going out there and doing it, right? And I think Argyle, they were figuring things out. I think we've seen they figured things out. They've righted whatever ship, whatever was going on. But Emerson's a great team. They went, it came down to the last 20 seconds last week. So this Emerson team is really, really good. Uh, I just want to see Lake Dallas, like, I want to see them make I don't know what we would classify as a deep run, but I'd love to see them, you know, get to that like third round of the playoffs because I think they have the team to do it. I think they have the players that can do that. You know, be a little bit of an
Yeah.
underdog story in the playoffs. I think they're capable of that. I think they have. We saw some bright spots from the defense from them. I think they have a quarterback that can do it, and I think they have the star power at with I think it's Malik Henry at wide receiver, and Cade Bortnam is a guy that can get the ball to those guys at those positions. So
Yeah. It's Keontae Henry.
Keandre Henry. Okay, I don't know why.
Yeah, no, you're
I don't
good.
know why I keep
But
wanting to say
but
Malik Henry
this
for
is
some reason. Whenever and that's a QB from
last
uh
chance you.
yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know why.
What I was gonna say is like this is a golden opportunity for Lake Dallas. So how their playoff runs shake out are really going to be impacted by this game. You're
Mhm.
either looking at being a bottom 2 seed and you're having to go against the top 2 seed from 4-5 AD1, which is I can't remember who's in there, and I'd have to look back at my article at this point. So there's that. Or playing against a bottom half 4 or 5 D2 school if you win this one. So it would definitely impact. I think if they're a third or fourth seed, depending on how things shake out, I think you're capped at maybe a two round at most. Maybe you're out in the first round like last year. So we'll see. I mean, it's a golden opportunity to make noise and show that you're better than that effort that you losing by 31 to Argyle 2 weeks ago. So,
Yeah.
all right, your last
Definitely.
one,
All right, all right.
my
And
favorite.
this is yeah. I think this is a game you definitely would talk about. It's the Battle of the Attics. I mean, there's a lot at stake here in terms of for Louisville, for Marcus, for seeding. This is a game that means a lot to the players playing in this game, to the students in the student section, to the just the people that like high school football and that and between these two schools. Uh, between the area of Louisville and Highland Village and uh, because both schools are playing well this season. Louisville a little bit down compared to last year. Marcus surprisingly playing they've been ramping up every single week. They're playing better. So this game, I think there's a million directions this thing could go. I would normally like to give a prediction. I have no idea. I don't think there's like, I think if you're setting a spread, it would be like a half point one way or the other because I think
Well,
to me, there's just two. It's just Marcus is playing so well. We've seen
mhm.
Louisville kind of just drop off in games kind of like this. And then but then this is also a rivalry game. It's a district game. I don't know what's going to happen here. And then the Battle of the Axe in the last couple of years has been really bizarre, and we saw it with the Mound Showdown how weird that can get. Uh, I don't know what to expect from this game. I think it's going to be a game for fans of football to just enjoy at the very least.
Mhm.
And both teams are playing for seeding positions at the end of the day.
Yeah,
They're trying
I
to
mean,
clinch,
they're not
try,
gonna
I was going to
be
say trying to clinch
well, right,
too,
yeah,
as
they're
well.
both trying to clinch, but you still need some help. The seeding is not gonna be impacted in this one necessarily because of, being split in the different divisions. Louisville would go D1, Marcus would go D2. But I mean, it's all about that as I alluded to when we were talking before the show. This is essentially the Super Bowl for a lot of these
Hmm.
players' football careers. They're not either going to go to um, play at the college level or this is just a fun activity to do, whatever the case might be. So this is like this is the pinnacle of intense rivalry and everything like that. So for sure. And then Marcus in recent years has owned this. Odell is 2-4, I think, in his time at Louisville
Hmm.
playing against Marcus. And when Louisville wins, it's only been a close game. To me, it seems like it's like a play with your food type of situation. And uh, last year they only won by 3, coming in maybe a little too hot headed and running through the district and felt like they can run them over. And Marcus, because it's a rivalry game, they said no, sir, no, we're good. We're gonna make this a interesting one. And then when Marcus wins, they won handily. So, um, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this shakes out over at Marauder Stadium. I kind of almost wish we were going to it as well. Um, I definitely need to plan our schedule out a little bit better next year so we can go to these awesome rivalry games and
Yeah.
later in the season, and also just the more not more impactful, but highly impactful games across the area. But it is what it is. So it'll be fun. I might pull this one up if I have internet on Texan Live just to kind of hear what's happening.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Yeah, these are great games. I love the Battle of the Axe. I like the idea of what, show me what you are, Lake Dallas, or then what are you, Hebron? Figure yourself out so you can get into the playoffs for sure.
Mhm.
All right.
All right. So what games you got, man? I'm
All
ready
right,
to know.
I got three. I got three that you'll never guess that's what I decided to go with. No, Crum and Farmersville. So this is for
Love
the
it.
next two teams or games we're going to talk about. These are about the opportunities in front of you and going and taking it. Now we talked earlier about Crum not being able to get into the playoffs, not necessarily clinch the playoffs, I should say, or be eliminated with this game. But you really put yourself at a higher chance of getting in if you can just go out and take care of business against Farmersville. We don't really know what Farmersville is, but we know what Crum is. And I think we've said it time and time again, off air, on air. They go as Ty Tabor goes. And the comp that I had is I hate doing this, comparing a high school kid to an NFL quarterback, but it's very much like Kirk Cousins, right? When he's on point, the Vikings, or before that, the Washington football team were unstoppable. And if he's shaky or rattled, they look beatable any given Sunday. So that's kind of how I view Ty Tabor. I think he's still going to be an excellent quarterback for Crum when it's all said and done. But man, this is your moment. You had the ability to kind of hand it off to Devin Brown last year and let him run things for the offense. This year it's all about you, and next year it's probably going to be the same. So this is your moment to say, boom, Crumb's on the map because of me. So I'm putting a lot on his shoulders. It's kind of unfair, but that's kind of how I see this one shaking out. So if Crumb can take care of business, I think a lot of it will be said by his performance tonight. Sorry, Friday night. The other one is, again, it's in front of you. The moment's there. Denton versus Memorial. You've got the opportunity to get back into the playoffs for the first time since 2016. My hunch, and I think your hunch is as well, Argyle will take care of Independence and take care of that half of the equation. And so if you do the same thing against Memorial, you're in. Now Memorial is favored to win in this one. This was a 3-point game last year on the road, or sorry, at home. So now, after you've kind of realized that the running game is still your focal point with Jacoby Gladney and LaMarcus Robinson, a couple others, use it, leverage it, and go capture that moment for yourself and get back into the playoffs. I think that'll be a huge relief for Billy Miller. I think Memorial's beatable, but they just won by 48, I think, last week over Independence. So who knows? I mean, this could be a dogfight like it was last week against Creekview. And the last one that I'm interested in is Geyer versus Allen. I think for the first time in forever, since these two teams started hooking up regularly, both teams are unranked. I think either it's been both teams are ranked or one team has been ranked. Never both teams unranked. So, and I have no clue where each of them stand. Allen started 0-2 on the year and have won 5 straight. They've looked the part of a district champion. They beat McKinney last week, which I thought was not going to happen when we did our pick'em with GM Sports Media. And Geyer has just rolled, averaging or scoring more than 55 points its last 3 games after losing to Prosper. So I have no clue where to figure these teams are at. So I want to see where they're at in terms of how they stack up against each other and where they are in the pecking order in terms of 6A football. Because Geyer would go Division II, I believe. I know. And Allen would be Division I because they have the highest enrollment in the world. So I think that's I'm not mistaken. I think that's correct. They actually might have the highest enrollment in the world, or at least the
I think
United States.
at least the United States. I would be shocked if there's I would be genuinely shocked if there is
Yeah,
a high school
I've
that
looked
has
at
a
this
higher
before.
enrollment. Like
I think for a
it's
public school it might be, but maybe private school. I don't know. I feel
I
like I've looked
there
this
are
up
close to
before.
8,000 kids.
Yeah,
It's
that's so stupid.
insane.
That's
It's
that's a small town in Texas.
so we did this too when they were realignment. So when Quincy was still with us and we were doing a show, we did a whole segment on realignment and everything because there was a lot going on with realignment at the time. And what we saw with Allen, because I was looking through all the top schools, they had almost double the second most kids
Yep.
or whatever school was number 2 on the list. And it's like I don't even know how to comprehend. Like it's hard to comprehend or describe.
Yeah,
Like
it's
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 like
dumb.
3 high
It's what it
schools.
is. It's dumb. It's just stupid. Like, just whatever. And again, they're a small town in their own. Like I think they have their own police department at Allen ISD.
They have more
Um,
kids than most like small colleges.
yeah, that's basically what it is. It's a small college in the public high school domain. All right, so those are my 3 schools: Crum, Farmersville, Denton.
I love it. I
Memorial.
love the Crumb game especially just because I mean we've like you said we've said it before. That Crumb team feels like they're and it's especially the Tiger Tabor aspect. It's right there. Like
Yep.
if that takes off, if he takes off, if he just takes that step,
Yep.
I mean that it feels like I don't even know what the sky's the limit for them. Especially because they have so many young guys like on that team that are going to
Mhm.
be coming back next year, and it's just get a little bit of playoff experience this year, man. And then the big thing for Crum, a big reason I love this game against Farmersville is I think trying to win. If you put yourself in a position where the last 2 games are going to be, well, we need to win these last 2 games. Back-to-back wins, where the pressure's on for back-to-back weeks.
Yep.
That's just a lot. And so getting this win here takes a little bit of pressure off. And everyone's been beating each other up in that district outside of Aubrey. So it's just take care of business this week. Really, really. I mean, I think it's really important for the Crumb out of all the teams that we talked about being sitting in the ether and whatnot. Crumb's the one that I think really needs to get a win because
Yeah, it's just that pressure.
you
Like,
know
don't put undue
that
pressure
pressure
on
is going to
yourself.
be, the pressure is going to be cranked up all the way to 100 for 2 straight weeks, and I just don't. I think that's going to be a lot for Ty Tabor and company. So
Yeah. So good luck to the Crumb Bobcats. I'm pulling for you, not just because
yeah,
we cover you,
definitely.
just because I mean the opportunity is just too massive. Same thing with Denton. I just it's
I
right
want to.
there.
Oh yeah,
So
man, I hope Denton gets there. I want to see
yeah, for
Denton in the
sure. All
playoffs,
right.
man.
So you brought up Aubrey. So let's put it on the screen.
Oh yeah, baby.
A little bit of a graphic snafu. The game's at 7:30. At not 7 o'clock, but it's going to be at Chaparral Stadium. It's going to be on Friday night. We'll be there. Sanger and Aubrey. This has the potential to be a massive blowout. But if there's a team that ever needed a win in the worst way, Sanger's it, and this is you're in desperation season, so you never know what could happen. I cannot recall what the score was for this one last year, but I
It
feel
was
like
not good if I remember correctly.
I think Aubrey won.
Aubrey blew everyone out last year in district.
That's correct. They won by 42 points last year.
Yeah. So and now this is the thing I wanted to make sure we address early in this conversation is because I think Sanger probably not feeling the best coming into this game. You're so close to the season kind of being over in terms of making the playoffs or whatever. However, as we talked about early in the show, Aubrey's clinched, and if you're Aubrey, now Aubrey's done something I don't. I've said that I don't love the way they run the offense and other things earlier in the season because we saw what happened when they played Panther Creek and whatnot, and that they're a team that they fall behind. It's a problem for them. However, because they're such a run-heavy team and a physical team, I think it'd be smart for Aubrey to kind of give some guys a break. Maybe don't run all your best players out there and all your best linemen, all these guys that that need to bash heads for whatever is it? It's not 60 minutes, right? It's not 15-minute quarters. It's
48.
it's 48 minutes. Okay, I was trying to remember. I was about to say 60. So for 48 minutes, give those guys a little break. If I'm Aubrey these next couple weeks, right? You obviously want that district title and stuff, but I think giving those guys a break is almost a little bit more important because you want that deep playoff run again. You want to try to go win that state title if you're Aubrey, or at least try to get to that regional final again. So if you're Aubrey, there is a possibility, I think, that Aubrey isn't playing all those starters throughout the game. Maybe they don't start them. Just trying to rest guys a little bit. So there could be a window where you can get a lead at some point. And if you do get out to a lead, that's where Aubrey is going to struggle. They do struggle a little bit. However, Aubrey has been getting a little bit better quarterback play here in the last week or two. So, the deck is stacked against Sanger right now. But backs against the wall. Let's see what you got here, Sanger.
Yeah, it's definitely a game of dichotomies because Sanger, you're not out unless Crum wins. But you have to play desperate. You're winless on the year, and you have to be that desperate team to, not have to worry about another team helping you out, mean Farmersville. But this is a big but. Aubrey will clinch the district title if it wins.
Yeah.
There's no way on God's green earth or your angelic halo garage that you're in that Keith Ivey will do anything less but then play the starters for at least a half and run up the score to make sure there is no chance that his team does not clinch. There's just no possible way.
I wanted to throw it out there because I think it was.
I hear you.
Like, he's won enough district. The dude's won a million district. How many district titles do you need to win at some point?
That might be the dumbest comment I've ever heard.
Like, oh my God. Like, you won a bunch of district titles. Like, tweak your offense and go win a state title. I think he's a good coach.
They've just never had the quarterback play.
How do you know you have the quarterback play when you ask a guy? It's like getting mad. It's like, when you ask someone to throw the ball 10 times, the amount of pressure that's on them for those 10 throws is so much higher. That's why, like, what Ryan Tannehill did for that short stint and this short stretch of those 2-3 years in Tennessee with Derrick Henry playing out of his mind is so impressive because those efficiency metrics, where it's like every time you throw, you're throwing beyond the sticks and your completion percentage is so high. It's like, that's otherworldly. Like,
sure.
It's like, that's really impressive and really hard to do. And their red zone numbers were absolutely insane and they weren't repeatable. And that's why after 2 years, it stopped working.
Sure, but at the same time, Aubrey doesn't have a D1 quarterback. They might have a D1 athlete that happens to throw the ball, but they do not have a D1 quarterback.
That's true.
On their roster.
But that's fair. That's also why, like, probably, my idea for, like,
I would love for Aubrey to be a spread team that just so happens to run smash mouth football with, like, the Philly tush or whatever you want to call it, tush push, and stuff like that, and mix it up wildly. But man, Keith Ivey knows what he has and what their team is, and they're just going to
That's fair.
Run it up the guts every time or outside with their triple option and be opportunistic in their passing. Now, you're right. They have had better quarterback play. Brock Temple is 14 of 16 on the year. I think he's played the last 2 games or something as quarterback. So they've gotten something there. Maybe he got healthy. Maybe they just decided Brumley needs the season or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I feel like in my heart of hearts, this is going to be a blowout early on for Aubrey, and they're going to clinch the district title. And then Sanger is going to be just hoping and praying that Farmersville takes care of Crum so they can fight to live another day. Because if you look at Sanger's schedule, after this one. Then they have Farmersville themselves, and then
Mhm.
Bridgeport. 2 very winnable games. So, I mean, if you pull off the nearly impossible against Aubrey, hey, now you're definitely in the driver's seat for a playoff spot because you can beat Farmersville in that instance, and then you can beat Bridgeport. But I think we're going to be looking at Aubrey clinching, and then Sanger, if they haven't been eliminated, fighting to the bitter end to get to that last playoff spot.
Yeah, and one thing just to kind of steer the ship back to Sanger a little, since you were talking about Sanger, I forgot how young this team is, and I also
Yeah,
forgot. I believe this is Chad Rogers' first year at
correct.
Sanger, if I'm correct.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, this will be just be a good litmus test. I mean, this entire year is a litmus test for these guys. And Sanger, good. I mean, they're a pretty solid program over the years. I mean, they're a little up and down here and there, but there's never been that program. Like I would not have thought. I'm not used to thinking Sanger as a one-win team throughout
Hmm.
the in a season. So I think this is just I don't want to. I'm not going to look at this season at the whole on the whole. I think this is just a down year for the
Yeah,
tribe.
for sure.
Like I think they're going to come back next year. I think that a lot of young guys are going to learn from this and come back, pretty good. And so I think it'd be cool for them to come out against Aubrey. At the end of the day, use this as a game to learn, come out, and then I like you said, I think Aubrey's probably going to take care of business, and
Yep.
you're probably more correct on that. I just wanted to give the Sanger fans a little bit of hope.
Sure. I mean, and again,
Maybe,
I'm not trying to disparage
maybe.
Sanger. I just think the talent
No,
gap is a
I
little bit
don't
too
think you
high.
are. It's just I think I think it's just one of those things to remind myself. Since we cover those guys, it's like, oh, they're young. They don't have a ton of people coming back, or they have a lot coming back. They
Hmm.
didn't have a lot come back this year, and then they have a new head coach. And I just hearing Coach Alexander at Marcus 2 weeks ago. That was the first time, or a few weeks ago. That was the first time we've interviewed. One of our new coach, or I was a part of an interview with a new coach, and hearing him talk about that whole process of how hard it was in the spring,
Yeah.
spending that whole spring just finding new staff and stuff. It's like, and that's why it's so impressive to me how well Marcus is doing. It's like, a lot of these times when you have a new coach come in, unless it's an established program like Geyer, where Coach Heim or
Took
somebody
over for
comes
Webb.
in,
Yeah.
it's like I mean, he was already there in the
Yeah. It was
program.
gifted a
Like,
state title team, pretty much.
yeah, he knew all the players knew him. He already had the relationships. Like,
Yeah.
that
Rogers is coming
program's
from
so
Tioga.
established. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's tough. And then with Aubrey, I'm kind of excited to see what they look like, because I
Yeah, we
gripe
didn't have a
about
good taste in our mouth after that Panther Creek game. Like we were like, boy,
no,
they are not looking good right now, and that was a part of that 4-game losing streak to start the season. And now they're 4-4. They've run through district. They've had some tight contests though, tighter than
mm,
I would have expected, like against Van Alstyne and Gainesville. Oops.
yeah, I think Gainesville was the other one. Let me pull
Uh,
it up real quick.
yeah, no, it was Van Alstyne and then Crum last week. Actually, was pretty tight. It was 27 points, but it was tighter than I would have expected. Um, so
Mm,
so yeah, I mean, it's it's be good to see where they're at in terms of where we left off and seeing them, because by all accounts they look like the Aubrey of old, and if that's true, that bodes well for a deeper playoff run than where we left off in Toyota Stadium in week 3, 4, somewhere
yeah,
around
it was
there.
week 3.
So
Week
no,
3, and
it'll be a fun matchup, and that stadium's going to be
I'll be
electric.
I was gonna say I'll be in love with Aubrey after they score 40 points. So
Yeah, sure. But yeah, so that's where we're going to be. 7:30 Friday night at Chaparral Stadium. Sanger versus Aubrey. It should be an interesting one. Again, we have a team that's growing and having to restock, and then yeah, and Aubrey bringing Aubrey. So we'll see.
yeah, it's gonna be an exciting one. All right, any parting notes for our lovely listeners?
For our viewer listeners on the TV, radio, internets, no, not really, man. I'm just excited to get back into the groove of twice a week shows. We'll be back on Saturday to discuss all the things that went on, who clinched, who's eliminated, um, who's still in the ether, who had a great week. There's going to be a lot to go over on Saturday, and hopefully we have some dust that's settled, and the playoff picture becomes much clearer.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you can come once it's all done. Like you said, once the dust is settled this week, come join us at 11 a.m. on Saturday.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Have a good week.